evening, everyone, and welcome into the Unrivaled Rundown. I am Kadarius Washington, and it is a pleasure to have you in as we look back at this past weekend in Unrivaled basketball. And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the games. Unrivaled weekend tipped off on Friday as the Phantom defeated the Rose by a score of 75-63. Sabrina Ionescu had a really good game. She had 32, 9, and 8, and Satu Sabali played really well, and she played with a little pep in her step, if you know what I mean. She had 13 points on the game and hit the game-winning shot, and despite the losing effort, Azurá Stevens, who, if you remember last week, was one of my players to watch, she had 19 points in the game, and then Angel Reese was pretty proficient as well. She had 13 points as well as shooting 5 for 8 from the field, so that's a good job by Reese. Then the next was probably the most anticipated game of the weekend, as I was telling you, as the Lunar Owls stay undefeated, untying the Laces 75-73. Napheesa Collier led the Owls with 26 points, but her and Alicia Gray, another one of my players to watch, each had 5 fouls in the game. Alicia had 19 points as well, and how about Skylar Diggins-Smith? 16 points with another game-winning shot, albeit at the free throw line, which was a disgrace, but more on that later. As for the Laces, Kayla McBride played really well in the game. She had 26 points and shot 6 for 8 from 3. Tiffany Hayes had 17 points in the game and 6 for 13 from the field, and Jackie Young made her presence felt with a perfect 4 for 4 from the field, and she had 12 points. Kate Martin was a non-factor in this game. She only had 4 points on the game. I mean, ouch. Stephanie Dolson, another player to watch, was a disruptor in the paint, as I talked about last week. She had 12 points, and basically in this game, the Laces just made too many mistakes. And along with that, they played with no urgency at the end of the game, and the Lunar Owls capitalized, and that's pretty much all there is to it. All right, day 2 on Saturday. How about the Mist getting their first win of the season? We told you that last week, and lo and behold, they did. 77-67 over the Vinyl. The game was close for pretty much most of the duration, but after it was 65-64 Vinyl, the Mist pretty much took over and won the game. Brianna Stewart had another double-double, 23 and 10, and Aaliyah Edwards, who was incredible in the game, she had 16 and 6 and shot 8 for 9 from the field, so that was a really good game for Edwards, and a little bit of a rough game for Jewel Lloyd, 3 for 9 from the field, but she did have 15 points, and Rakia Jackson had 13. Despite the loss, De'Erica Hamby went nuts in the game. 35 points with 13 rebounds, and outside of her performance, the Vinyl really did not shoot the ball very well. The Rose got win number 2 on the year, beating the Laces 82-69, but there was a lot of drama in this game. Chelsea Gray, as I've consistently said, is so sensational. She led all scorers with 28 points, as well as going 3 for 4 from 3, as well as hitting the game winner. Kalia Copper had 21 points and had 8 rebounds, and Angel Reese made history for the wrong reason, becoming the first player in Unrivaled to get thrown out of the ball game and was tossed in the second quarter after getting 2 technicals following disputing a foul. She had 6 points in that game. That's a little bit of the drama that I was talking about. And Azurá Stevens was a sensation in this game as well, going 23 points with 8 rebounds on her 29th birthday nonetheless, which prompted this at the end of the game.
Keeping up with the team chemistry needed. I know that these are players that you don't play with all season long, and every day you've developed more chemistry as a team, but where do you feel that, and happy birthday, by the way. Are you feeling the love in this arena?
Yeah, I am, definitely.
You had an incredible performance on your birthday.
Thank you.
And many more.
Easily my favorite moment of the weekend. There was a scary incident late in the game as Jackie Young went down with a non-contact lower leg injury in the fourth quarter and did not return to the game. I tell you, whenever you hear non-contact injury, That is never good news, but of course we're hoping the best for Jackie. As for the Laces, Kayla McBride had 20 points on the game, but she did have 5 fouls, and Stephanie Dolson fouled out in the game late in the fourth quarter, but she had to stay in as they were heavily shorthanded. Of course, not having Napheesa Heidemann and Alyssa Thomas, obviously Jackie Young, and then losing Tiffany Hayes right before halftime following a hard fall and ending up in concussion protocol. And Kate Martin did not play well in this game either. She had 8 points and shot 3 for 11 from the field and 0 for 5 from 3. And Laces fall 2 straight after starting the year 4-0. All right, day 3 of Unrivaled yesterday. The Miss have a little bit of a win streak going on. They reign on the Phantom 64-61. Rakia Jackson, who I just have to say has been one of the most consistent players in Unrivaled this season. She had 17 points, and again, she is really impactful on both sides of the ball and a really good player overall. Dejanay Carrington and Jewel Lloyd each shot 50% from the field and had 11 points and 13 points respectively. And Aaliyah Edwards, a pretty rough game following her game-winning performance on Saturday. She only had 2 points and shot only 1 for 8 from the field. And then Brianna Stewart had another double-double in the game. She had 19 and 13. Then Phantom coach Adam Harrington got ejected when it was 63-61 with a miss in the lead, and then Stewie hit the game-winning free throw. And the same issue from Friday reared its head again in this game, which was a disgrace and pretty much a horrible ending to a great game. And a couple of notes on this first game. This was actually the first Unrivaled game where both teams were tied after 3 quarters, and the Phantom did not lead until late in the fourth quarter as well. And Satu Sabali did everything she could to keep the Phantom in this game. She had 22 and 8, and Brittany Griner, quite a proficient performance in this game. She had 20 and 8. She also had 2 blocks to go along with it. And Katie Lou Samuelson was not good in this game. She was a complete liability, shooting 0 for 6 from the field. And then the last game of the weekend, the Lunar Owls destroyed the Vinyl by a score of 85-68. The second half of this game was really not competitive. Once the Vinyl lost the lead early in the first quarter, they never got it back. And the Lunar Owls just put the game out of reach late. I mean, Napheesa Collier had another masterpiece. She had 36 and 12. But my thing is, Napheesa stays in foul trouble. She had 4 fouls in the game, and I don't think there's been a game this season where she's had less than 3 or so fouls. And Alicia Gray, she played well in the game. She had 20 points, and again, she is really become one of my favorite players throughout this season. And Sky Diggins-Smith, I mean, my goodness, she loves hitting those game-winning shots, and I believe that's her 4th game-winning shot of the season, if I'm not mistaken. She had 14 points in the game, and also, I think Courtney Williams is one of the best role players in all of Unrivaled. She had 10 points on the game. And as for the Vinyl, Ryan Howard had 21 points, but she did have 5 fouls. And De'Erica Hamby had 14 and 10 on the game. Ray Burrell was proficient. She had 13 points, shooting 5 for 8 from the field. And Arike Agumbawale had 14 points, shooting 6 for 12, and an ice-cold 0 for 4 from 3. All right, a couple of takeaways from this weekend's games. First, does anyone remember the Billy Crystal movie Forget Paris? Remember that scene when Crystal played NBA ref Mickey Gordon and he teed up and threw out Kareem, Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, and everyone else? That's pretty much what we saw in this weekend in Unrivaled. Obviously, we saw the refs get a little too tech happy, and I think we had only 1 technical the first couple weeks of the season, and then this week we had a total of 5 technicals and 2 ejections, of course, with them being Angel Reese and Adam Harrington. And number 2, I think next year, after Breanna Stewart's comments post-game, I think they're going to change the rule about players winning the game on free throws, because I just have to say that players should not be able to win the game at the free throw line. I mean, it defeats the purpose of the game-winning shot, and as great of a game as it was yesterday, I mean, there was no excitement about a game-winning shot. There is no excitement whatsoever about winning the game on a free throw. I mean, just had to put that out there. And then number 3, in their game against the Phantom, I was really impressed by the missed defensive performance early in the game. And honestly, I thought they would run away with it. But as I said in the recap, Satou Sabally kept the Phantom in the game, along with some help from Brittany Griner, who I have to say is looking more and more comfortable in this 3-on-3 format. And also, I know they blew a lead late in the game, but to the people who wanted Phil Handy out the door, like I said, he just needed time. This team is playing really well, and I would not sleep on this team late into the season as we're winding down on the games. And lastly, the Vinyl have really fallen off a cliff. Do you know that in their last 3 games, they've lost them by double digits? I mean, in their last 3, they lost by 10 to the Lunar Owls, they lost by 10 to the Mist, and then they lost by 17 to the Owls again. Then they got the Laces on Saturday, who are in a little bit of a slump of their own and dealing with injuries. So with that, you would think that this is a winnable game for the Vinyl, but we'll see. All right, a couple of players to watch this upcoming weekend in Unrivaled. I've got 3 of them. First, I have Aaliyah Edwards, and besides yesterday, I think she's played really well in the last few games, and she's doing a good job defensively, especially yesterday with her matchup against Brittany Griner, and I think she's going to play well again. And even though I think it's going to be a tough matchup against the Rose, I still think she's going to do a good job in the game. Second, I have Satou Sabally. She has been really good in these last few games. She's averaging 17 points a game this season, but they do have the Lunar Owl, so the team is probably running into a buzzsaw there. But I am interested in seeing her play this weekend. And lastly, I have Arike Agumbawale. I honestly think she is due to screw the cap off of one of these games. We just saw Hamby go off in a game this weekend, albeit in a loss, but I believe Arike does have the potential of doing so this weekend. And another note, only 2 days of games this week, Friday and Saturday, team games anyway. And the Lunar Owls and the Mist are the only teams that have 2 games this week as we look ahead to the 1v1 tournament starting on Monday. Well, folks, that'll do it for this week's Unrivaled Rundown. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Also, follow me on Twitter or X at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. And we will see y'all the next time. Good night, everyone.